Lesson 14.10, average value algebraically, but this time with trig, so it takes a little more work. Let f be the function defined by f of x equals sine of pi over 2x. What is the average value of f on the interval 1/3 to 7/3 written in simplest form? So we're going to integrate from 1/3 to 7/3. Our function, I'm just going to go ahead and plug it in, is sine of pi over 2x dx. Okay, so I have to take the antiderivative of this, and actually before I forget, I better put that I'm finding the average value, so I need to subtract 7/3 minus 1/3. I cannot forget to divide. Okay, but I'm going to take the antiderivative of sine. I always know it's the opposite, so I know it's cosine. Then I have to ask myself, what's the derivative of cosine? Negative sine, but I don't want it to be negative, so I'll have to put a negative cosine. That's the way I do it. I still get confused with what's what. Okay, when you take the antiderivative of these, this is like a chain rule. You have to keep the inside the same, but then you're also going to multiply the front by the reciprocal of that inner part. So I'll have to move the negative and put times 2 over pi and put the negative in front. And if you're forgetting where that rule came from, if I were to take the derivative of this, remember that the derivative of cosine is a negative sine. We keep the inner part the same, and then we multiply by the reciprocal, or we multiply by the derivative of the inner part, which would just be the pi over 2, not the x, because we're taking the derivative of a constant, and so that would cancel this out, leaving me with this part, which I should have had a negative there, so that negative times negative becomes a positive. So that's why you have to take it times the reciprocal of the inner part to make that part cancel. Okay, so we've really got that, and then we're going to go from 1/3 to 7/3. And 7/3 minus 1/3 is 6/3, which is really 2. Okay, so now I'm ready to plug in. I would have a negative 2 over pi times cosine of pi over 2 times 7/3. And then that's going to be minus, I like putting brackets around this, minus the negative 2 over pi times cosine of pi over 2 times 1/3. And all that's going to get divided by 2 to get averaged. Okay, so right here I'm getting 7 pi over 6 to save room. I'm just going to write right here. You can use your unit circle, but I know that a sixth of 180 degrees, because that's what pi is, a sixth of 180 is a 30. So I'm going 7/6. I'm going around complete 180, and then I should be 30 degrees away. If I want cosine, that is the x value, and x is negative here in quadrant 3, so that's a negative radical 3 over 2. That's what I'm getting for all of this. I'm saying cosine of 7 pi over 6. So I would have negative 2 over pi times a negative square root of 3 over 2. Okay, so that'll be that part. Minus, same thing here. This is going to be pi over 6. So what is cosine of a 6? That's cosine of a 30, which is just positive square root of 3 over 2. So I get negative 2 over pi times positive square root of 3 over 2. Again, all of that will get divided by 2. Okay, so my 2's cancel. Negative times negative is a positive, so I get square root of 3 over pi minus, my 2's cancel. I'm going to have minus a negative, so that actually turns into positive square root of 3 over pi. If I add those, since it's got a common denominator, there's square root of 3 plus square root of 3, that's 2 square roots of 3 over pi. Don't forget to divide by 2. I'm going to take it times a half. 2's are going to cross cancel, so I get square root of 3 over pi as the exact average y value. A lot of steps. All right, let's try another one. This time we have our original function has cosine. What is the average value from 3 to 11? So we're going 3 to 11 cosine of pi over 6 times x dx. And we want to average it. So 11 minus 3 is going to get divided by 8. We're going to anti-derive. So the opposite of the cosine is sine. And then ask yourself, what's the derivative of sine? Cosine. I don't need to have a negative this time, which is going to make our lives a little bit easier. I'm going to keep the inside part, but I have to multiply by the reciprocal, which would be 6 over pi. Evaluating from 3 to 11, again divided by 8. That's going to be 6 over pi times sine of pi over 6 times 11 minus 6 over pi times sine of pi over 6 times 3. Divided by 8. Okay, so this would be 11 pi over 6. A sixth of 180 we said was a 30, so 11/6 is almost 12/6. It's almost all the way around to 360 degrees. 11/6 right here. I want sine value this time, so that's the y. It's negative because y's are negative here in quadrant 4. That's negative a half. So I got 6, right over here, 6 over pi times a negative 1/2 minus 3 and 6 can cross simplify. That would be pi over 2. Sine of pi over 2. Half of a 180 is a 90, so that's here. Sine is going up 1. So I like that. That's minus 6 over pi times 1 divided by 8. This would become a 1 and a 3, so that's negative 3 over pi minus 6 over pi. And I'll save this till the end. That would be negative 9 over pi. Divide by 8 is the same thing as multiplying by 1 over 8. So I get negative 9 over 8 pi. A lot of algebra in these. And that's it.